While reading a book on how to make friends, young Kenichi notices that he is running late for class. So, he puts the book away and makes a run for it till his head turns upside down when he bumps into a hottie rocking eyeglasses. After collecting his stuff, the duo takes a shortcut and jumps over a river, but it's proven useless as they get there late anyways. The girl is introduced to be the new transfer student, Miu, a hottie and a saint who decides to stand outside with our boy since she too was late. Seeing Kenichi as a good, kind-hearted boy, Miu, or dare I say the top-tier waifu, decides to be friends with him. Shocked, Kenichi headbutts the wall after being sent to the nurse's office. We see the main man running again. This time, he's late to the karate club. On the way, Kaneki bumps into Nehima, an opportunistic schemer. While not particularly strong, he acts as an adept strategist and intelligence gatherer. He had compiled detailed portfolios of everyone on his Palm Pilot, and our boy is at the bottom of his lists. Nijima teases Kenichi by calling him weak knees and tells him that he will always be a weakling, even if he's in the karate club, which, to be honest, was good advice since in the next frame we see another student, Daimonji, roughing him up, saying it's just practice. Later, after everyone leaves, Kenichi tries to throw a punch on the boxing bag, which is a big no-no. So, Daimonji puts him back in his place and challenges him to a match, but the loser must leave the club. On the way home, Kenichi sees a confrontation between the hottie and some thugs bullying an old man. Kenichi panics and hides behind the wall, not knowing what to do. He goes through an existential crisis and then charges out to save the dandy in distress but falls short, literally, after he punches the thug by mistake. They pull a sword to cut him down. Lucky for him, Miu easily defeats the thugs in a very elegant way. After all is said and done, Miu advises the future strongest disciple Kenichi to head to the Ryazanpaku dojo to train in martial arts. There, he can meet Tamiyu's grandfather, Hayato, the invincible Superman Nui, TIE fighter Apache Hapachai, the maiden of weapons Shigeru Kosaka, Chinese martial artist Kensei Ma, karate master Shio Sakaki, and jujutsu master Akasame Katsuji, the philosophical judo master. Seeing all those giants in front of him, Kenichi couldn't feel small. After Mudum's Kenichi between their hands, our boy agrees to start learning under them, and he signs a contract as well as pays for the teachings since the dojo is facing financial difficulties. But thanks to the best girl, they manage to go by. Now, because Kenichi's first fight is going to be a karate one, he makes it clear that he wants to learn it first. But since the karate master, for some reason, doesn't take on disciples, he begins his extremely harsh training at the Ryazanpaku dojo under the guidance of Akasame. The training focuses on building strength and stamina, or to put it bluntly, staying alive. While Kenichi feels he's in hell, the headmaster assures him that with the resources in his hand, he should feel lucky. Even McCain doesn't have as many masters. End quote. Later that day, Miu crosses paths with the bullies and overhears them talking about how they're gonna break her little Kenichi like a twig. Concerned, Miu secretly teaches him a stepping technique to maneuver around a larger opponent. Although he doesn't seem impressed by the move at first, he soon finds it impressive when he fails to reach the fun bags. Miu catches second-hand embrace, watching him fall on his face, but still, she stays supportive and cheers him up to try his best and shoot for the stars. The next day, we see him walking to school in a goofy manner, practicing the move constantly. And after a week of other drills at the dojo, he faces the big bad guy. Not gonna lie, he had us in the first half after getting sent across the room by one punch. But then he started moving his feet like Ali dodging. And that said, unlike Ali, he did not sting like a bee and was still too weak to put the big lug down. Thus, Kenichi continued playing the long game and was able to trip Daimonji, which made his gears start spinning, making him figure out a way to use the big bulldozer's momentum to lay his ass flat, winning the match. Though after seeing how pathetic the guy is, Kenichi admits he technically lost by using an illegal throwing move and quits the karate club. While heading back, Kenichi is warned by his frenemy that now he has defeated Daimonji, other stronger fighters will likely want to fight him, which in this case, the referee from his first match. The next day, we see two geeks talking about Miu, thinking they have a chance, not knowing why foes are only meant for the main characters. Speaking about the main character, our boy is depressed and unable to communicate, so his family slips and tells her Kenichi has found himself in a doozy. You see, after watching Kenichi defeat Daimonji, Tsukuba, the strongest member of the karate club, becomes suspicious of Kenichi's abilities. After class, Miu fills Kenichi in on everything that happened and will happen. However, although she shares faith in Kenichi's ability to fight the guy, she is worried that he will get beaten to a pulp since the guy is a black belt. The mood then shifts when the lackey tries to raise up the main girl but finds himself on the ground instead. Back to the serious matter at hand, the hottie ninja master, as well as the philosophical jujutsu master Akasame, notices their young disciple looking defeated. So, to fix his problems, Akasame-sensei whips Kenichi into shape, while the kung fu master helps him strengthen his legs to improve his foundation. The day ends with Kenichi getting sent to the heavens by the Muay Thai master Habakai. After waking up back in his bed, Kenichi boy has dinner with his fam. They criticize the methods of the dojo, but the main man, despite being roughed up, sees the benefits of his training and storms out, leaving his father who wanted to go Old Testament on dem masters and end the series too soon. Luckily, though, Kenichi's thick mom talks some sense into her man. At the school, Miu joins the girls' gymnastics club and unwillingly becomes the center of attention due to her remarkable abilities, which also makes the popular get jealous and marks clueless Miu as a rival. Later, after school ends, we see Kenichi boy still desperately trying to avoid Tsukuba but is soon caught and is easily beaten. Upon hearing how low the big guy thinks about him, Kenichi's fire lights back up, and he holds the guy's leg as if his life depends on it, leaving a mark on it, startling the guy. Back in the dojo, Miu sees Kenichi and realizes he left her hanging because he was getting his ass beaten. But Kenichi denies it and says he fell on the stairs before going to see Akasame and tend to his injuries. Once asked what he would do given the chance, Kenichi replied, "All I wanted to do was prove to him that he was wrong about me, but all I could do is tell him, and that wasn't going to change anything. I had to show him, but when it came down to it, I had nothing to show. I need strength, and I need courage, but I don't think I will ever have either." Upon hearing the same words Akasame said to his master when he was young, he decides to start teaching the young lad martial arts techniques. The first drill is to find the opponent's center of gravity and throw off their balance, no matter their size. The second drill, taught by the Chinese master Kensei, is a technique both offensive and defensive, which the master demonstrates with the help of poor Miu, who gets her booba violated by the dirty old man, which some would say is not funny. However, what was funny is silly Kaneki thinking the head part is a thing, but laughs soon turned into terror at Apache's turn to train Kenichi. The deaf god of the Muay Thai underworld does not know how to hold back, even when he is teaching dodging. He goes hard as the days go on. Kaneki repeats those drills over and over, showing signs of improvement, even though he's still having trouble with the statue. Sakaki is impressed that Kaneki stayed and is learning fast. He also points out that something is fishy about the statue. Upon taking a closer look, Kenichi notices it too and finds out that Akasame has been switching the statue every day to a bigger one. Now, despite insisting that he will never train a student, Sakaki decides to teach him a technique that a sports karate-style user like Tsukuba is vulnerable to. On the other end, we see the big guy talking to a chick. It seems she is a leader of a group that scouts powerful fighters and tests them. And by test, I mean beating the crap out of them. Hence, when Ni sees it, she stands up to the bully. But then Kenichi arrives at the nick of time with a straw hat on his back. So, if you know he's about to go Gomo Gamu no Ape on him, recalling his teacher's words, Kenichi throws the first hit, which is an old technique no one uses anymore. Tsukuba then tries to drop kick him, but Kenichi manages to counter it using the technique Sakaki taught him. As the fight continues, we see the movement training and the statue training paid off, and he emerges victorious. Later, Kanshi senses that people are afraid of him, and his senses are on point. You see, Naima, being a part of the newspaper club, has published stories of how Kenichi was able to defeat the bully with one blow, just like the blow that set Naima's soul on a trip to the Shadow Realm. After he came back, Naima gave his quote-unquote new best friend a heads up. The criminal martial arts gang Ragnarok is looking for him, and the first place they look for is in school. But Kenny Boy does, as he puts it, a well-timed strategic withdrawal. Izumi tells him that she heard some rumors about him, saying he's the strongest meanest kid in school. Speaking about the devil's workings, Naima arrives at the club with some info about Ragnarok, but the main man sends him away. Later, as he trains with the death god of Muay Thai, the man's soul briefly leaves his body, and when he comes back, he questions if the master sees something special in him, to which all the Giga Chads answer no simultaneously. However, before Kenichi isekais himself, he is motivational, talking about how his training is the only thing he can count on when hits the fan. Thereafter, as the senseis watch Kenichi's fighting spirit at its lowest, they have a devilish look in their eyes. They sent him on a date with Miu. While the main character is excited about being with the best girl, Miu is excited about the theater since she never went to see a movie before. But who is excited about being with Kenichi is none other than the opportunistic Naima, who is still hot on our boy's tail, trying to tell him about the strongest guy in the prefecture targeting him. So, for the rest of the day, he tries to avoid him and have a good time in a theme park. Meanwhile, a group of thugs find Naima and start beating him to know where Kenichi is. The dude sees him, and Kenichi tries to bail, But then Mew reminds him nobody likes cowards that leave their friends. So he goes back and drops the delinquent using a technique Sakaki taught him, while Mew easily beats 3 other guys off cam. At the dojo, the masters reveal that they were behind the thugs' attack. They have planned to help Kenichi find some much-needed courage by purposely inviting Ragnarok members to the movies to fight Kenichi, so they could see how much he had improved. Thus, a boxer from Ragnarok decides to give him a visit. The next day, we see history's mightiest gardener trying to control a wheel that goes crazy and lands him on a window where Mew is doing her gymnastic routine. After enjoying a show for a little bit, Kenichi recalls the punching power of Ragnarok. Takeda, terrified from being continually targeted by strong opponents, Kenichi chooses to live at the Raizenpaku dojo several days a week, but first he returns home to convince his eccentric gun-toting father to grant him permission, which he doesn't yet. Kini boy still heads out anyways because he likes his face more than he fears the belt. Once Kenichi returns to the dojo, he starts noticing the difference between the masters' personalities, and from the looks of it, our boy's favorite master is Akasame sensei, while that was before he put him in a BDSM machine to make him more agile. The only thing that made the hellish experience bearable is the fun bag squeezing on his back, making his brain as well as little Willie confused. Meanwhile, his little sister has followed him to the dojo and sees his harsh training for herself. When she jumps in to help him, Mew loses her balance and destroys Kenichi's lower body. Thankfully, Akasame is a certified bone expert. He kicks Kenichi's bones back to their place. Likewise, Kensei is a certified acupuncture expert, so no matter how much they break their disciple, they will always be able to fix him, which is kind of terrifying, not gonna lie. Anyways, as Kenichi's younger sister continues to be loud and obnoxious, especially after seeing how hot his training buddy is, the rest of the gang enters to see what's happening, which is normal aside from Kensei's entrance from under the ground. Eyes lit upon hearing younger sister, she tries to take Kenichi's hand and run, but the man bails on her. Since let's be real, looking at Mew who would leave sadly, our boy lacking in the social department asks Mew if she has any relatives, which she doesn't, making her leave him alone with a group of men roasting his Ri's skills. Soon after, Sugar arrives back at the dojo and checks on Kenichi if he is still alive or not. The elder notices it and comments that Kenichi has somehow made everyone at the dojo a little happier. Later at dinner time, Kenichi tries to hide his food since he doesn't want the masters to. It's something he learned martial artists do, but the elder tells him that this silly thing only happens in movies, and as soon as he drops his guard, the man loses his meal. However, Mew does visit him at night before bedtime and hands handed a meal after Akasame's request. As they bond and share desires, sneaky Shigura appears on the other side of the roof and reads Mew's 8th grade letter in which she wrote her dream is to get married and have a big wedding, making the best girl embarrassed. After the ninja leaves, Mew tells our boy that she hopes they stay friends for a long time. In other words, our boy has no shot. He's got to be stuck in that doom zone known as just friends. The next day, Kenichi's routinely charity training is not going well. It was so bad Sakaki destroyed the wall just to show him how to throw a proper punch, to prove to him it's not because of his muscle. Sakaki sensei asks Mew to show Kenichi how it's done. The lesson ends when Kensei's turn is up, but he loses motivation when Mia refuses to indulge him, so if he teaches a technique that doesn't seem helpful in any or form. However, while doing it in the streets, Mew joins and tells him it's to loosen his muscles so that his punches don't be slowed. During their walk, they run into Ragnarok member Koba the Kicker and his gang. Surrounded and outnumbered, the dude decides to fight back. Sakaki swings by and knocks a guy with his conquer hockey. He then fixes his student stances and leaves, no questions asked. What a Giga Chad connection. Gets kicked in the face as well as gets outclassed by the speed of the other kid, so he stands back up and loosens his arms to throw a quick punch that phases the guy on his knees. The kid orders his boys to attack, but then sees they were easily defeated by the lovely Mew, forcing him to run away. This failure angers the short-haired chick, who is now more eager to meet this Kaneki boy back in the dojo. We see the main man doing his karate training, as well as jujitsu and Muay Thai training, which turns into keeping the instructor away or he will accidentally kill him. Since Kenichi showed fear, which fuels the instructor later in school, Kennedy goes to the Gardner Club. He finds out all the plans got destroyed by Damanji. Yup, the big lug is back for revenge. He outrages Kenichi by crushing his special Snow King, a small plant, due to his intense training. Easily dodges the big lug's moves and then defeats him with only a single punch, scaring the rest of the kids away. A few days later, he is thrilled that his little plan has started growing again and resolves to continue growing himself, just like his plan. But before growing comes strategic withdrawal, as in hiding in the closet and getting base food from your friend. Sadly, no matter how much Kenichi tries to avoid a problem, they don't go away. Fear Recall, an aspiring Ragnarok member, intends to defeat Kenichi to get recognition from his peers. Meanwhile, his lackeys are getting their asses handed out to them by none other than the lovely Mew, leaving the boss for Kenichi as usual. But two lads land their punches at the same time, but Kenichi's does the damage and breaks the guy's nose. Concerned Kenny boy tries to check up on him, but Mew stops him as it was a trap to lure him in. Being a weak fighter, the British fanboy pulls out a knife to attack Kenichi. Frightened by the weapon, Kenichi freezes, and Miu quickly comes to the rescue and disarms Furukawa. Embarrassed by the fact that Miu had to save him, Kenny tries to play it cool, but his pants falling off was the nail that broke the camel's back. This interaction makes Kenichi depressed and unwilling to train. Therefore, Shigure offers to train him to defend against weapon users. His first lesson is to use the blade, but since Kenichi is still new, Miu hands them spoons instead. That said, boom in the hands of a master is also lethal. After the ruckus calms down, Penny Q begins his training using papers to get the hang of handling a blade. The elder points out all he lacks now is courage, so they don't shake your pants. Training begins while heading back to his room. The little fella sees Sakaki flexing his guns as he trains. Kenichi wonders why he has not gained any mass or if Akizuma's weird training is working out. Suddenly, Akasame appears and asks Kenichi to help him with shopping. The shopping trip turns into a running drill. Akasame then explains that back in the day, martial artists used to train by sparring, not by lifting or other stuff. That way, the body would develop muscles it needs in specific spots and not develop muscles that would slow them down. However, the risk of injury is too high, so Kenichi is stuck with basic training for now. Wondering how Akasame would hold himself in a fight, seeing he's lacking in the muscles department unlike his peers, Kenichi soon finds out the answers to his question when the thugs Miu beat before cornered them. Akasame stopped the thugs from putting their hands on his precious disciple by dislocating a guy's hand and then fixing it. The thugs get some weapons as well as their big boss, who is built like a truck. But Roy Did Reed tries to assert dominance by twisting a stop sign, but the philosophical geek at Chad fixes it back with one finger. He tries to solve the matter peacefully but then decides otherwise, and some bullies only learn the hard way. Akasame uses the fight as an opportunity to teach his student a jujitsu lesson. The lesson ends when a thug pulls out a gun, so Akasame takes him by the hair to fix his attitude and hopefully hairstyle. Later, Tsukaki explains to Kenichi that there are 3 types of muscles: white muscles, good for fast sudden moves but lack endurance; red muscles, got endurance but not too much power; and a little bit of pink, which has those two combined. After 20 years of bizarre training, Akasame managed to change all his muscles to pink ones. The man is as hard as solid rock. Later at night, as Kenny Q walks back home, he gets jumped once again by the Brit boy. However, thanks to the training from Shigeru, Kenichi is able to overcome his fear of knives and easily disarms him. Miu, watching from behind a wall, is proud of her boy's growth. Likewise, Apache is trying to grow. He trains by hitting statues since he's afraid of hurting Kenichi. His training is supposed to help him hold back so he can teach Kenichi Muay Thai without the danger of ending his life. At school, Takeda and Koga continue to search for Kenichi with their friend Yukiya, the thrower who notices a sussy closet and slams it to the ground. Luckily, our boy is not inside this time, only a good luck charm Appa gave him, but he dropped by mistake on the roof. The dude has some alone time till Naima arrives to inform Kenichi that his safe hideout will soon not be that safe. As the dude leaves, Naima tells them he has some info about the next opponents. And after some mild teasing and bickering that Miu sees as male bonding, the eccentric kid tells Kenichi that he will most likely be fighting Takeda, a former lightweight boxer, freaking him out. After running back to the dojo at top speed, Kenichi witnesses the most intense rock-paper-scissors game of his life. The game is to determine which master will be training him next. Akasame, as well as Apache, believes the Muay Thai fighting style will be most useful against a boxer, and the training begins. After a quick history lesson on the origins of Muay Thai, Kenichi gets hyped to start learning the basics. Meanwhile, a brutish-looking dude talks to the shorty who, by the way, since the beginning of the series, we never saw sitting up. Toshi lost a game thanks to her boxer boy arguing with the brute on how to handle this Kenichi situation. Speaking about the main man, while sparring with Apache, the latter fails to adequately hold back and accidentally kills Kenichi, who is quickly revived by Akasame as if nothing happened. During a shopping trip, we find out Appa is quite liked by animals and kids. He is a pretty sweet, soft guy when he is not fighting. On the other end, we see Kenichi suffering from amnesia and does not remember what happened after his recovery. Elder spars with Apache to teach a method of holding back since he forgot about being killed. Kenichi gets ready to be trained by Apache again, who manages to hold back his fists but ends up macking Kenichi through a wall with his foot. However, despite this in the eyes of the elder, they have made an impressive improvement. All that is left is to teach his lower half how to hold back. The next day, we see the boys chilling on a rooftop, waiting on the main man, and he never shows up. Takeda, though, ensures his big buddy, yet he has a plan to lure out Kenichi. Meanwhile, Kaneki spars with Miu in preparation for his fight with Takeda. That said, the spar ends with Kaneki on the floor after failing to land a single blow on her. Now, in their new hiding spot, Kaneki perks up when Mew checks on him if he's sick or not, but he soon gets interrupted by Naima, who was sitting in the corner for a long time. He tells him about the impressive career of Takeda, making the main man more scared. Back in class, two NPCs plan on befriending Kenichi to become closer to Mew. Yukita takes them hostage to lure Kenichi out, even though the two used to bully him. Kaneki comes to their rescue after the NPCs run away. Yukita tries to throw Kenichi, but the man attaches to him as if his life depends on it. Then, he easily knocks out Yukita before fighting Takeda, who insists they fight using the structure of a boxing match, meaning Kenichi is free to fight in any style he wants, but the no-hitting opponent on the ground rests between rounds. Is there. The match starts, and Kenichi tries his best to land a punch on Takeda, but Takeda is too quick for him, even using only his right hand. After taking a good beating, Kenichi remembers the boxer's weakness, the low kick. The destructive power of the low kick takes effect, slowing down Takeda's attacks. He then throws a knee that Takeda blocks beautifully, but still feels the effects of it. The bell rings a second too soon before Kenichi lands a head blow, and they both take a break from fighting. While taking a rest, Kenichi asks Takeda why he quit what seemed a promising boxing career. Takeda gets embarrassed by this personal question and advises the socially inexperienced lad to mind his words or he will lose friends, which, in Takeda's opinion, is a good thing. You see, back when Takeda was a prime rookie, a friend of his was jumped by a gang, so he went to help him. The two fought the thugs off successfully, but Takeda broke his arm, which made him miss his pro entrance match while his friend continued his career and became a pro, leaving Takeda in his dust. After the bell rings again, the fight continues with the boxer having the upper hand. However, thanks to Appa's intense training, Kenichi manages to tank all the hits and lands a flying knee. The roof fence breaks, when Takeda crash, rushes into it. Kenichi holds the guy from falling but isn't strong enough to pull. Thankfully, Yukita regains consciousness and drags both of them back up. Mew, having noticed the boy is in danger from her class window earlier, rushes out of class to save her Kenibu. But when she arrives, she sees Kenichi knocked out. So, in a fit of rage, she beats up both Yukita and Takeda. Kenichi brings both of the injured Ragnarok members to the dojo. Akisha Ms. Sensei treats everyone's injuries, including Takeda's paralyzed left arm, the injury that ruined his pro boxing career, marking the start of a new chapter in his life and a new friendship with the home team. That said, he has to endure a world of pain before getting back to top shape him over to box again. The end.